Yeah. Thanks. So as I was saying, basically a repository for those who have, sometimes it's also good to have these theoretical notions that it's not only about what you guys know, it's what you guys are able to explain. You need to be able to explain to other people what stuff are, right? What are you doing? Basically a repo is like, it's an archive. I don't know if that's the right, you can easily, so normally you have your profile on GitHub, or in this case, this is an organization profile. It's a Hack Your Future profile. And then you can basically create repos, which are basically file structures. It's basically a folder. At the end is a folder which contains all your code, all the code of a specific project. There is many commands related to the repos, like to initialize repos, to clone repos. Let's first clone a repo, and then we can also initialize it so that you guys can try to do that. So there's normally two ways. Either somebody gives you a clone URL, so which is normally this, or if you don't have it, you need, of course, to go to the repo and fetch that URL, which you can easily do here. So, for example, in this project, but this is the same for all projects. All projects normally have the clone or download button. You can just copy it, and then you can go to your chosen development tool or iTerm if you prefer that. So you need to have, of course, your command line tool that you used available, and I normally use it in Visual Studio Code, but that's just a preference. And then you just go to the folder where you want the project to be. So, for example, this one is in test projects. If we go here,
can you increase the font? I don't think it's visible in the Mac.
Let me just, yeah, I can.
I think it's in Command Plus.
Huh?
Command Plus.
Oh, sorry. Command Plus is just, okay. It's just zooming in.
Yeah.
But is it?
If you increase the font so you don't move the...
Okay, I can do that also. One second.
Just use iTerm, I think. Then you have entire screen for only commands. How many of you are using a Mac? Okay.
Here.
Yeah,
That's solved. Yeah. 28? That's too big.
22,
Okay. I probably need to open it again, I guess.
No, the phone is only for the files, it's not for the terminal.
Is it?
Yeah. Open the file and then the phone will be GIT.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly. That font is related to this, so now it's pretty big. Everybody can see, yeah. Yeah.
If you can't see it, you have a problem with it.
But but everybody can see, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can see. That's the important thing. We need to make sure that. So what I was doing is, so then you just need to make sure that so for example, this it's in a folder called test projects. You can have it in whatever folder you want, and then you just need to do, I already cloned it, so but you need to do git clone. So I already cloned it, so of course it's going to tell me that it already exists, right? It should, at least. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, then it probably overwrites. I thought it would. But so this is what git clone. You add the URL of the repo, which you copied from here, right? Pretty simple, I would say. And then yeah, it basically what it does is it did create a folder. So if we go to no? So if here we can see this folder, it has this. This is the repo that was created, right? React. Here it is. So, so that is cloning a project. I mean, I guess that's pretty simple for. So what you have done now, you have cloned it into your file system of your personal computer. Then when you need to use it, normally what you have to do, you normally need to go into the folder that you just cloned. The folder was created when you clone the project, and normally you need to run npm install. Here I have it slightly different because it's a command that I customized, but if you do npm I or npm install, it will install the dependencies of the repo that you created. Dependencies? Dependencies are so every project normally has a bunch of other projects that it needs in order to work. So because I mean, software development has become more and more complex, and they followed specific ways to try to simplify it. What I mean is, today you can easily have a project, you can easily create a simple project, or you can find online and you can have running code very easily, but actually normally that running code by default needs some specific packages, other libraries. You can see it as libraries. Libraries, packages, normally these dependencies. So npm install is. So when we're using npm, you guys have been using npm, right? No. Okay. So
We
yeah.
have only seen HTML and CSS.
Okay.
It's probably nice if you start with Git
Okay.
init.
Yeah. So before going to Git init, let's just for a few minutes talk about npm. So npm, what it stands for is Node Package Manager. Okay. Basically, it's a software that Node created. Nowadays, it's kind of open source, and there is basically a bunch of people contributed to it, many developers, and by what you can use it for, you use it for to manage your dependencies. Basically every project has dependencies. For example, here, actually this doesn't have a. That's probably essence. Okay. I was trying to see, but okay. So for example, here we have a package JSON. So this is a project called, it's a folder called temperature conversion. I assume, yeah, it's a small project, an example project. I guess it converts temperature, and this has a package JSON. This package JSON is a file that you guys can create by doing what this colleague that just left, I forgot his name, was saying. If you run git init, so this is a git command, right? So git is a software that you install on your computer. You all have git installed, right? I assume.
You can run git
Because you did, yeah? Because I mean.
Everybody has it installed because you need to have it.
You have installed Git because you clone the content you have to use Git to clone.
So for example, if you at your computer, at your terminal or something, are you all looking at your terminal? If you run git -h, which it stands for help, then if you have git installed, you will get this usage, and this is basically help on how to use.
Go to your terminal?
Yeah, go to the terminal. Need help? So terminal. Yeah, go there. Yes, go. Can you come here? Can you see that? Just there.
I've been installed right there, when I enter Git, that it
Yeah, it is. When they close up the door, it's just fun. I was about to do like, you know, like, leave this story.
So you don't have it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. If some of you don't have Git installed, what you can do is I can show here. So I think okay. What you can do is it's very simple. So this is a principle that you should always follow. Whenever you need something, you go to this amazing page and you write install Git. And then there is many, you see, I mean, there is many. So for example, people that have Mac, you can install it by using the Mac package manager, which is what's the name? I forgot. Yeah. What? So if you all have Windows, which seems to be the case, you have a Mac, right? You can use what is the name?
Brew. All the Macs come with Brew.
What's the name?
Brew.
Brew, exactly. You can write, for example, Git. Look, install Git Brew, and we go here. So homebrew, this is for people that have Mac, which can see is just a few. This is like a package manager for the Mac ecosystem, for Mac computers, iOS computers. I mean, for Windows, it's here. You can just okay. This is Linux. No, it's not Mac. Windows. It's pretty simple. Huh? Download it. Git for Windows. And you just, are you doing that?
I have done this, but I think that we should make some link between these two. I mean, integration between VS Control and the GitHub is what already is missing on our computer.
Oh, okay. So then it's an edge case. Then I can help you later in one
Because I
second.
think everyone I have
Okay. So, but everybody, all the others, no. Do we have
I don't doubt he knows because
You also have
the way he'll teach
you?
It's harder to teach something that is quite obvious to someone who does. Do I follow when I learn?
I already have. Where is the link between GitHub and VS Code is also in front of
It can be sorry.
I have to download them and install. This is my GitHub. I have not
It can end up being boring.
done anything before. VS Code know that I have GitHub.
Yes. That's the fun part.
To really want to have to feel that it's your
Okay, let's go back. You're using, don't you have, okay, don't use this. Don't use Windows. So they're all full. So we always use Windows. Okay?
when you see online.
Yes, from lower this guy.
You said only if they sold it.
Yep.
This is GitHub, you need to install Git. Okay. Oh. Just a git download. Yeah, just download. What is the difference of Git and GitHub?
This is okay for download files onto GitHub. GitHub is just a place where you can store all your files.
So after
Git is
this,
like the messenger.
after this finishes, you can just
Bring
press
it onto GitHub.
and it will start the installment.
Normally what I would again, you have like a VS Code thing where you are like lots of updates and then usually you go here and then you do all these changes, click on push and then using Git, then you in this terminal then you everything will be stored.
So yeah, Git is something that integrates with your this GitHub desktop is not integrated with
What I do is
you don't have
so every time
You have it. So guys, for the ones that are having problems, if you use Git bash, don't you already have Git bash?
I have GitHub desktop and Git.
Okay, that was the problem. Alright, this is the one. Use Git bash. Yeah, okay, use that. Yeah, Git bash, that's what you want. Yeah. Now you
So I also think that
you have already. So that means that it's working. I mean, you have Git. You can just
Do you have a class one?
did you install Git?
So you understand the command like cd.
So you have
Command cd.
you wrote this. Okay. Yeah, I will give a small explanation, although. Yeah. This is what you want. This is what you want. Git space. Thank you. Okay, so every like 99% are on track, right? Everything okay? On track? You have, okay. So basically, for the guys that are using Windows, which is the majority, you can install Git bash, which is what you've done, and then you have access to the Git command. Just one thing to keep in mind when you're using, but that's something that you'll be able to. You have to probably do it a bit by yourself, but you can search about it and learn more about it. The differences between terminals. So, for example, if you have a Windows terminal, it's going to have different type of set of commands, and the whole file structure of Windows is completely different than the file structure, because so we have when we have operating systems, you guys know what are operating systems, right? We have Windows, we have Mac, Linux, and there is different families. Windows family is one family. Then you have the Linux or Unix family, which is Linux, which is Mac. Mac is part of that family, Mac OS, part of the Unix family of operating systems. That means that there are several differences which we're not going to go over them, but in terms of when it comes to command lines, when using the command line, like for example, when you are using a command line from the Windows family, you write cd space, right, which is create directory. So normally the cd you also do that, but for example, in Windows, I remember difference. In Windows, if you want to see the directory, the file structure of a specific directory, of a specific folder, you need to write dir to see that directory and what is inside of it. As in, for example, in Linux or Mac, then you just write ls instead of dir. This is a small difference, and that shows you basically a specific file structure of the directory where you are.
Because of different operation systems.
Yeah, it's of course if you're using Bash, if you are using Git Bash on Windows, you have the same kind of commands. So you can use ls like you would use on a Linux or on a Mac. The same when you use Git Bash. If you're using something called PowerShell, which I don't know if you guys know what it is, but it's like a ancient Windows command line, which they, I think, are on the process of replacing it, because I think Windows, Microsoft is developing a new command line, but yeah. So PowerShell, you would have to use dir and all those kind of old Windows commands. But hopefully you all have either Git Bash for Windows, or you are using a normal terminal for Mac, which, or you use Linux, I guess. Man, does anyone use Linux? No.
Yeah.
Linux? Really? It doesn't know. Ubuntu is Linux. You use Linux? No.
No, not now.
You have a question?
No.
Ah.
I wanted to say like I used Linux.
Some time ago. Okay. All right. So we need to, because we have some timetable and we do respect. So we have now Git. Unfortunately, it would have been nice if we had this installed already, but that's fine. That happens. So now you guys can, for example, clone a repo, because actually, as far as I understood, you have not done that. So you can go, just for the sake of simplicity, you can go here to AccuFuture React. There is a React repo. So you just go to the AccuFuture repo, and then there is or to the AccuFuture organization on GitHub. And then you can search for, a simple usage. So you have some organizations that have thousands of repos, hundreds of repos. This have 49, it's not a lot. You can easily here search React. Done. Found it, you click, and you are here. And then you can go here, you can clone the repo by you just, by pressing this, you're going to copy this to your system. You copy the URL. Okay, one small thing that I forgot. There might be a case where you guys don't use SSH, so this might look like this, right? For some of you, which is fine. You can also copy. If it looks like this.
I have.
You have SSH?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a system.
You have. Okay, so people that have, it will be like this. You can just copy.
It should be HTTPS.
No, it can be SSH. That depends if you have an SSH key configured on your computer.
Can leave it like this?
Yeah.
Keep SSH.
No, you should copy it. Copy this. Yes.
SSH.
You
But
have
I
it.
choose
So no,
I have to.
you have to create a new one.
Again,
Yeah,
set
the
up
computer.
the computer. I
Yeah.
have to do it. Okay.
So then you need to use this one also, the
Okay.
HTTPS.
Okay then. Okay.
No. Okay, sorry. Maybe I overcomplicated. I would say for 99% of you, you just need to. Basically what GitHub shows you is the default one. So you just you have this. The only thing you need to do is go here, copy. That's it. Okay. And then you go back to the terminal and you write in a folder that you want to have the project clone to. I don't know where you want to clone the project to, but if you have a folder called projects, or because it's not good that your projects are spread around. You should have like a folder or two folders. So if you have like a where do you have a project?
Right now, it's
Like this?
yeah. It is
So in that case you write git clone and you no, you need to use this. Right? You need to use it. Because you don't have access to the
So it actually does it on the.
You need to, sometimes if you do this, press, oh, shift insert, you see shift insert. So you need to press shift and insert this one, shift insert. Have you all been able to clone the repo? Everybody?
Yeah, but the problem is that I don't have like.
Everybody, anyone needs help? No. You covered? You clone. Perfect. You have PowerShell. You work with PowerShell. Yes means PowerShell. That's all. But as long as it works, that's fine. You see that PowerShell.
Should I set up again as HP or?
If you want. But that's this because it makes it easier for you. Otherwise, you're always going to have to authenticate when you want to push stuff. That's the thing. You always have to put passwords there. With SSH, it's authenticated immediately. SSH key is authenticated. Working here? Working.
If you want like a special thing, you just put it in like it's not like you put a type next to it, you press tab. It needs to be exactly the same text space and
Thank you very much.
so it's not sorry.
Now you you go into the folder, right? No, no code inside. You go into the folder.
Right. No.
You are in the folder now. You see the folders that are contained in the React folder. Oh,
We want to show you how we have
With a space at the folder name. So you can like CD and it's like create folder with a space in between two words. You know.
no. Where is the file? You should never say, as a principle from now on, you will never create folders with space on the name. The name should always be from the name. Yeah, you never read it. Can you Hey, what's up?
Teaching Git today?
Yeah, to the extent possible. They unfortunately also don't have npm installed.
Saying something, but I didn't understand. Like, hi. And you are.
I know to go and I came here to learn.
Okay. Is it interesting so far?
She wants to learn. She's asking me like, what about this? What about this? What about the? She's asking me a lot.
Oh, so you're with me. I'm gonna check around some of this.
Can I go over? You also go
I think that they know each other very well. So you can see a new face.
Ready? I'm ready.
No, I don't have patience to do this. Ready? Used to help him a lot. He was a singer. He was a boy, he was like, okay, get out. The thing is that it's something that I don't think we'll be able to handle it 4 hours. I think they could do it.
Okay, guys, we have a. So if there's somebody that still is not 100% working, I will help those in the break, but I cannot stop because we have a timeline and we need to kind of, otherwise we won't have time to go over everything. So the point is, everybody has Git, right? Git bash. So you now have access to the Git commands. Unfortunately, I've noticed, and that might be the case in most of you, you probably don't have npm or node installed, which means that I won't be able to show you how would you do, for example, how would you start a project in terms of downloading all the dependencies and installing them. But we could consider that that's a bit out of the scope of this class, so we will just go over Git. So in this case, as I was mentioning before, so you have, for example, here package.json. Does anyone know how a package.json file is created? No? Okay. So let's try that. Let's delete it. So this is week 2, right? Yeah. So now here, if we go to week 2, so if you guys want, I would advise you to do this also, the same time that I'm doing.
But they don't have npm.
No, that doesn't matter, because what I'm doing doesn't have anything to do with npm. So if you go into the folder, now here you have basically the files that are contained. I have deleted the package JSON. You guys probably still have it. I just deleted for the sake of recreating it so that you guys can see. I mean, it's very simple. You just need to write one of the git commands, git init. So the git init will initialize. So it as you can see here, is initialize an empty git repository. And
And what is this act of initialize? What is it doing?
basically, actually, it should create.
It's only the NPM.
What do we need?
Exactly. I mean, yeah, I was actually confusing. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. I was making my mistake. My mistake. The package JSON is related to NPM. Sorry. My mistake. My mistake. Let's forget about that part because since you guys don't have NPM installed and you don't have Node, I assume that actually you're going to go over this in the class that you will have for JavaScript programming in the future. You haven't had it yet, right? But you're going to have. So in that class, I'm sure, for sure, 100% sure. So let's not that you will go over. So they will help you install Node and they will help you install NPM and they will show. I was confusing with the package JSON is related to NPM. So it's npm init is a command that you create the package JSON. Git. So basically, once you write git init, it's a command that it initializes, as it says there, an empty Git repository, which means that the file doesn't show here, but you have like a hidden under the hood file, which is tracking all your source code. It tracks your source code in the folder where you have initialized the repo, and then based on the changes. So for example, now if we change something, for example in this, let's just delete this line, right? So now, then there is a bunch of other Git commands, like for example, Git status. It allows you to see, as the name kind of indicates, the status of your Git repo, or in this case, the status of all your files. So here it says that since I have not committed, I have not done any commit, right? It shows to me this new files that I can add. So by doing Git, this is the normal flow. You created some files, you're coding something, you create some files in your recently initialized repo. Those files, you need to add them. So they need to be in a stash, not stashed, stage, exactly, thank you. They need to be in a staged stage. So because your files have different steps, you can say that. So the repo, you have a repo, and in that repo you have, when the files change, if those files are being tracked, once they are changed, the Git detects that they have been changed. But in order to commit them, you need to add them to a stage status, basically. So you need to do this, git space add, and then you can specify which files you want to add. If you want to add all files, using this kind of syntax, you add all files, and then, okay, yes. And then here, now we're going to see, when we run git status again, that the files are in a different stage, which is staged. This is vocabulary funny, but so now Git, as in before, it was not. It was just saying that there were these files, but it didn't really know what to do with them. So basically, it kind of said nothing added to commit, but untracked files present. Use git add to track. So now they are staged, they are in the stage level, which means that now you guys can basically commit those files. So then there is the other command, which is a git commit. Normally, and this is many people, even developers, I even know at least one professional, very experienced developer, he doesn't really care about commit messages. Honestly, my point of view is that they are important, and I think that's a bit a consensus, but there's some people who don't give it that much importance. So it is important to have a meaningful commit message. So in this case, this was kind of the first commit, right? So, I mean, it's difficult to have a meaningful commit message in this case because it's also just for testing, but I would probably name basically how I think it's done in the Git documentation that is showing when to do the first commit. I would just name it first commit or initial commit. Probably initial commit is a better syntax, like nicer. Initial commit. It's important to type. Okay. So yes.
In the space.
Yes, I know. And you have made a commit, which basically. So what is a commit then? That's a good. And can you guys explain what is a commit? I mean, we just done a commit. Done. We've done an initial commit, which basically what it did was it added 6 files. 6 files were changed. There were 206 insertions. So we added 206. I assume that is characters or lines. I'm actually not sure about that. I think it's characters. And it's saying also the files that were created. Those files were created. So are you able to, because it's also important that you can actually explain what a commit is. I mean, basically a commit, and just out of the top of my head, this is not like not that I've been reading it somewhere else, but it's at a specific point in time is the state of your application, of your source code at a specific point in time. In this case, this commit is the whole state, the whole your whole source code, how it was in this specific point in time when you commit it. It's basically a version. That's why it's called version control system, right? Because you are basically controlling the versions that you have of your code. This might be more important depending, for example, if you are like a mobile developer, that's very important because many times you link the versions of your app to specific parts of your code and commits. For the web, for example, as a web developer, it's not that, I mean, you don't do that, but still, you can, of course, link it to specific versions of your web app, right? So, and by doing that, you can see, for example, if you go in the history, I personally just, so commands, we are here to learn commands, and we're going to go over the remaining commands, and it's very important to know them and to have the ability to, it's the fastest way and it's a must. Every developer needs to know them. But of course there is other ways to help us. I mean, we are people, we always will search for an easy way. So for example, here you have, this is basically, I've seen some of you have, like GitHub desktop that you have, right? It's basically the same. It's just a Git client where you can see, you can basically install it on your computer and you can see the whole history of your repo in terms of commits. So every one of this circle is a commit, right? Every one of this. I mean, this repo has thousands of commits, but of course the projects that you guys will work on are small. But then, so my point is that it's also pretty useful. I mean, I will probably share some of the stuff that I'm talking about. I will share at the end of the class on Slack so that you guys can follow up on and read more about it. And I will also share this, because although again you still need to know the commands, and it's important that you practice them. I think in your projects here you should practice them and use them. Sometimes you just want to see the whole history, and I mean, you cannot really do that in the same. You can see the history, but not in the same way that you can see here. So definitely, I would recommend you to also have like a Git client. I think it's a good idea. This just to say that every one of these circles is a commit, and this is so a specific point in time of an app. So for example, now if we go here, you have, for example, here we have in React we have 100. The React repo we have 150 commits. So let's say that there was a problem, right? There was something happened in a specific. Somebody created something that broke the React repo. Something was wrong. People could not run the projects. Then, of course, one way to go over that and to fix that problem would be to go over the history of the commits, try to see what was the problem. Even if you could, before that, identify what was the problem, you could just revert. I mean, that's the whole thing, the whole advantage of having things in versions and having basically managing your code in this way, is that you can easily reasonably easily revert to a previous stage. So for example, if there was a problem, when this was committed, there was some buggy code that kind of destroyed the React repo, then we could easily revert to this commit, and that problem would be fixed, for example. So that's also one of the advantages of using this version control systems. All right, let's just have a quick I hope that you guys have already kind of. I feel that I have already given a few examples of. No, this doesn't. Of how what is the importance of a version control system. We have already, I think, did everybody understand what is a commit? Sure?
No, like when you do commit, it is in your GitHub?
Sorry?
You will send it to your GitHub?
That's another thing.
Okay.
Let's go there. Good question. Good question. I was waiting for that. So I was waiting for that. So we have, and they mentioned this here actually, and I was going to go there. Local tracking and remote tracking. So what does that mean? So when you have a branch, we all know what a branch is? No, we don't know.
Like when you start the project, you will run your master branch. And
Yes.
when you want to try something new, you will create a new branch.
So when we do git init, the master branch is created for us. Alright? It creates the master branch. And it initializes the repo, as we've seen before. And here I basically have committed to the master branch. If we see git what is that? Okay, here it is. Git branch, it allows you to see in which branch you are, basically. In this case, actually, I assume that Git branch actually probably shows all the branches in your repo. So in this case, because I did git init, it initialized the repo and it created a master branch. I only have one branch, right? But you can. So if you do this git checkout is to either change to other branches or create new branches. You don't need to write them down, by the way. I will also give you a link after class with all it's called a sheet, which has all the relevant commands for you guys. I would say that it's probably better if you guys try it. So if you try to, in your laptops.
Maybe something like this to talk about the comment stage and like how to try to explain how to this stage.
Yeah, sure. I can go over that again. If it's not clear, I can go over that again. I can go over that again. So, okay, Git checkout. So, for example, okay, no. Dash B, like that. So, to create a new branch, you just need to do this. So basically, dash B creates a new branch. I mean, honestly, some of the commands I don't, because I mostly use the Git client, sometimes I don't remember. But it's just about doing a quick search on Google, and it's very easy to know the command. So this will create a new branch called test, right?
Yeah, Git branch I have done.
So, and it switches to a new branch. So it creates a branch called test, and it switches to this. So now if we do git branch, it will show us the two existing branches, and it shows us the branch that we're on. In this case, we are on test. Anybody you need any help, or what's everything good there? What's happening? Everything good, or? Yeah? Okay. Let's have that in the break, because we need to follow this, otherwise, let's have that in the break. What is the... So what?
Show the you know the I don't think it showed it. Does it show it in yours?
Yeah, it is.
Probably it showed it.
So, have you done this, everybody, or have everybody created a branch and you have not created? You have created? Sorry?
Yeah, because
You're just using the command. This is
But if you do GIT stuff, I don't know why.
That's strange.
You can only use
It's related to the terminal.
Windows show it.
I can try to. 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Well, the Windows show it. Yeah, it show the branch. I cannot see if it shows if the device has been changed.
That's something else. For the ones that is not working, the git branch, try to do git branch. I'm not sure if it will help. Space dash dash list.
You okay?
Showing you? No, but the git branch. No, you see it's not working. It should show you. Where is the and who dash dash list? I don't know if you know. Yeah, it should. Yeah, so it works. Exactly. Perfect. Oh, it doesn't work.
We use this check out business and recreate.
Yeah. Okay. So the list doesn't help. I can. So yeah, it's not showing. I can later search about that and then try to.
I tried to change some of the files. I mean, this week only I made this file. I have already edited this folder. Now I save this file.
No, you need. Yeah. Now you save it.
And then should I keep coming?
Now the thing is, you see, you have untracked files.
So you mean that GIT is not monitoring this file? So
You need to add them to your Git.
like
If you do Git add. Okay. Now if you do Git status, so now you see all. Okay. So guys, this is going to. You have a minute? It's funny because in yours, it might work. Okay, so
yeah, but have you changed something in your files? Because if you change something in your files, then you will have another
I will explain that. I will explain that.
I also just
Guys, we need to continue. We are losing too much time with this small. So, for example, in this case, some of you that have Windows, for some the git branch command works, for others doesn't. Honestly, I normally don't use Windows. I don't know why, but that's something that we can have a look, and I can help either during the break or, I mean, we can definitely understand why that's happening. But let's move on. So basically, the idea here was to show you guys. This is another command, git branch, that normally allows you to, in most cases, to see the branches that exist in your repo. I tried this dash list, but ignore that. Git branch should be enough. So currently we are in the test branch, right? We have created that based on master. Whenever we create a branch, that branch, the code that will be in that branch is based on the branch that we were when we created it. So in this case, we created the test branch here when we were in master. So the code that is now in the test branch is the same code that is in master. Exactly the same code, no difference. Of course, the point of doing this is that now we are going to change some code, right? So I will do it again, so that I've seen some of you were having doubts. I will do it again, and after I will add the change and commit to change. I will explain the difference between the local and remote tracking and local and remote branches. It's pretty simple. So for example, we can change this to something else. So a small change, we save it. So now there seem to be, maybe there is some doubts regarding so what is staged and so basically the tracking stages of Git. So if we try here Git status, so what happened here? I run Git status. Git is going to check, is going to look at the different status in terms of tracking files. So we basically have committed, which is when a file is committed. We have tracked and untracked. So the tracked files are the ones. So at the moment we don't have any. There is no change. It didn't detect anything, right? We changed this, but for some reason. But for example, now if we run git add and we do git status. Okay, no. Oops.
I think we need to save it first.
Okay, I changed this. It should actually.
Did you save the file?
Of course. That's actually, let's see.
Is that file in the same directory?
It is in the same directory, but okay, wait. No, sorry, you're right. No, one more. No, it is in the same directory.
I think you just need to make a change, right?
I did a change. I changed this to something.
Okay.
Sometimes yeah. Let's okay. Let's do. This actually doesn't make sense. This is another thing that you will learn throughout your career. Things sometimes just don't work as expected, and that's fine. You just have to accept it and figure it out. I mean, that's as simple as that.
Nice when they're a class of
It's as simple as that. Yeah, because not for some. It's strange actually. It's I don't know. Because okay. For now, for the sake of simplicity, and let's go back to master. So there is no change. All the changes that yeah, this is not being tracked for some reason. Otherwise, it would have changed.
I don't think that is the file in your repo.
Can you do git log? Git log? Did you commit?
Yeah, I have committed. But this is a master. Yeah, master has committed.
Maybe change from the editor here, like with Vim.
Sorry?
With Vim, change it in the terminal here.
Change what?
Change a file here. Add something to the file. It's like
Yeah. But for example, this. It's funny that.
You can do remove homework. Remove the file.
Yeah, that's more more
directly
quick.
in the terminal.
Huh?
Directly, just to make sure that it's in the same folder. Git status.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the same, huh? That's strange.
Did you remove?
Yeah.
And the file?
Oh yeah.
No, the area will remove the folder.
Yeah, remove folder. Yeah.
Username.
But it doesn't look like
recall,
that's the one that
Yeah.
you're changing in the Git repo.
But it is the. I mean, I have.
And the Git status. There you
Yeah. Yeah. So this case, what was the issue here? There was between the folder that I'm opening on, which is a bit strange actually, but that's how it is. The apparently the folder that I'm accessing on my development tool on VS Code, it's not the same folder that is being tracked by Git, because now I've just removed through a command line a file, and now it did detect the changes. It was not detecting the changes back there. It's funny, but
But like it says unknown here. I don't think that's the file. you're
no, unknown
copying
is the name of the. That's the name of it. It's nothing to do.
But it's not the same folder.
Yeah, which is a bit strange. Man. Let me just try for the sake of.
You can do directly in the terminal code.
Yeah, I know, but let's. I would like to go here. So here we have. We only have one. Well, it should. Is this one? It's strange. So, but now we can see that Git is telling us that this file was deleted, right? And it says here, as going back a bit what I was talking about, stage and unstaged. It's saying that the changes are not staged. That means that in order for you to, of course, because sometimes you do a lot of changes, but you just want to commit specific. For example, let's say that I have deleted 2 more files, but I just want to commit the deletion of this file, right? What I can do is I can basically, by doing git add, and then I do lesson learn. By doing this, I'm staging this file so that it is ready for commit. So I'm basically changing the status of it according for Git's eyes, the way Git sees it. So now if I do git status, oops. Now you see that it says changes to be committed. So now this file is ready to be committed. So now if I commit, the only file that will be committed is this file because it's staged. If I had several, I can let's try that for the sake of I mean testing. So for example, if I do git status, oh. So now we have, maybe you guys don't understand, but this is new, right? So now we have 2 things. We have the file that I had deleted and I staged it, is in staging. The status of it is staged. So that means being staged means that it's ready to be committed. That file, once you do git commit and put a commit message, that file will be one of the ones that will be committed. In this case, it will be the only one. This file, it won't be committed. So now, why won't it be committed?
Sorry?
Why won't that file be committed? This.
We did not add it to the
Become
Git.
I heard the answer, but is again?
It is not staged.
Exactly. So the status of the file is not staged. So the only files that will be committed are the staged files. So this is a basic principle, but still, if we want to commit files, they always have to be staged, right? And the reason, sorry?
Why is this like this that we are not sending it straight to the
Because precisely of this case, let's say that now I do a commit. Because of, so I give, this is a case where if all files will be committed, that will be a behavior that you don't want.
So it's better that you send it just first to the stage files and then you send it.
So the thing is, when you are a developer, you're working in your project, you normally do a lot of changes. I mean, it happens, change this, change that in different files, and you reach a point that you have a really big amount of changes, but you just want to commit 2 or 3 files, or 2 or 3 changes. You don't want to commit all your changes. So what you will do is, you change the file, you choose the files that you want to commit, and you do that by staging them.
Even because when you're working on a lot of files, it might be that are different files that talk, are different topic, So in this file you're doing something, and the other file are doing something completely different. But you're working on both files, And if you stage all of them, then the commit will be unique for all of them, and it doesn't make sense for other people that work with you. I mean, if you are working alone, it doesn't make sense anyway. But I mean, you can say, okay, the file that you're working on, and it's a bad behavior, so don't do that. But if you are in a company and you stage everything, and they have different topics, then the commit should be unique, And the commit that you will write has to be related to the file that you're saving, that you're staging, So if are 2 different files, which kind of commit are you gonna write?
So for example, you could maybe be changing files or changing code in some files that does like logging, for example. But you're also changing files that does like searching, for example. You don't want to commit all these in one. You want to make one commit where it's like all the files that are changed that are connected to the login. We want to make one commit for those only, and then we want to make another commit. So we do like git add user-login.js enter, git add user logout.enter, bam. Now we have those two files staged. So we'll do a commit. And the commit message would be like log in and log out of user, for example. But we still have more unstaged files, the ones that were related to searching. So then we'll do like git add searching.js, and then we'll do a commit saying like searching functionality. Okay? So if they were automatically done into one commit, that would be annoying because they would like be merged and it would be a bit of a mess when we're looking through all the commits.
Exactly.
So that's why we say like we stage some files that are ready for a commit, and then we can give that commit like a relevant description. Yeah.
Shall I give an analogy?
Yeah.
Sure.
For Git, the analogy that works the best is that imagine you are sending Christmas gifts to someone. Okay, you send Christmas gifts. Now you have relatives in, let's say, Russia, you have relatives in US, and you have relatives in Australia. What you are going to do? You are going to have boxes, right? And then put stuff in those boxes. So putting stuff in those boxes is equivalent to adding things. Then you pack the box and write the address. That's Git commit. The address of Russia, address of Australia, and address of
States.
States. So you have 3 different boxes, and you will not go to post office 3 times. You will go only once with all 3 boxes. That's Git push. Because when you do Git push, you can communicate with the network. When you do Git commit, you write a message that is relevant for the things inside the box. People you are sending gift to in Russia, you will write a message in Russian in that box. People in the States, you write a message in English. And before you pack the box, you need to add and remove things from the box. So that's Git add or Git remove. So you add things, you remove things. Once you finalize, then you commit, means you pack the box. And you can have multiple commitments. You commit one box, second box, third box, and then you push only once.
One more thing, for example, now we are not familiar with Git that much, but by the time, let's say that you have committed a file, okay, and you want to change something from that file, and you want to bring it back with the command that you're gonna learn by the time, you want to bring that file back, you want to bring only that file, you don't want to bring all the files that you have staged at once, you know what I'm saying? That's how it is, The commit is like an ID, the ID is unique. So for this stage, it's unique message for that one, for that block of things that you want to commit for the same message, you know what I'm saying? So you have to be specific for the stuff. But don't do Git add everything because it will be a mess for you. I mean, it's not really a problem. It will be a problem for your colleague that wasn't with you when you was coding. And you have to come the day after and see all this, oh my god, but I have to lose a lot of time to search for the code, That's a good exercise that you can do with your homework as well, okay? So when you start doing it with your homework, for everything, every file, okay?
It's basically a way to divide your work. So software development is a lot about dividing your problems into smaller problems. And in this case, dividing. So if you're coding a big feature, if you're coding a whole application, obviously you need to separate that work, and that's going to be done through your commits. You're going to have different commits, like we were just talking about before. For example, if you have different functionality. For example, that's a very good example, and this is a basic, just for the sake of understanding example. So now we will have a commit related to the lesson plan. So we change the lesson plan. The plans of lesson changed. So now we just want to commit that. So we're going to commit a change in plan. I mean, could be more specific. You could say you change from Tuesday to Wednesday, but just for the sake of. And then you committed this. So basically now, if we do git status, we only see the file that was not staged. The other file is committed. So according to Git, everything is it's almost like it didn't exist. You cannot commit something that is already committed, right? So here, so for example, now let's say that okay, the preparation. Our point was we wanted to remove the preparation, and it has nothing to do with the lesson plan. So now you would do again another commit saying, remove preparation. Oops. Oh, what was my mistake? What was my mistake? What happened here?
You didn't stage that.
Exactly. I didn't stage the file. I did git commit, did it on purpose, just to see if you guys And what happened? I didn't stage it. It didn't commit anything because there was nothing to commit. No. Git only commits staged files. If there's no staged files, there's nothing to commit. So I could write 1,000 times git commit, all of it. It will always happen in the same, nothing will be committed. So what I have to do is, what do I have to do?
Get out.
In this case, we can just add everything. We don't need to write, but it's a good principle when you want to separate, when you want to separate your work, add the preparation or add the lesson plan. In this case, we can just add all that we have. So this will add all the files.
Because it's the only file.
Yeah, exactly. In this case, it's the only file, right? And now it's staged, it's ready to be committed. And now we can just do this. And now it's not going to say anything because, yeah, nothing to commit. But if we check, we can see all the commits that have been done here, right? There is the remove preparation, which was the latest. This is from oldest to newest to oldest, and the change in lesson plan. I mean, git log is basically a way to see the history of your commits. I mean, I prefer myself this, but it's about. I mean, it's also good to know these commands. It's good to know git log. It's good to know. You as a developer, you need to know those. Yeah. Okay. Now there's one step missing here. Before soon we're going to have to go to what is it? What's happening here? Okay. Okay, that's stupid. What's that? Huh?
Q audio.
Oh, Q.
Just do like
Yeah.
squad.
Okay. So now, so we have staged, we have committed our changes. Still, our all the changes that we've done, they are only stored in the local level. So they are only stored in our local computer. Basically, if this computer will explode now, I will lose everything. So that means it's only local tracking. It's not remote. We have not pushed to a remote repo. We only have it in our local repo. This is very important because, of course, ultimately, what Git is about is to having stuff being pushed to a remote repo where all in this case, all our classmates, with the people you will be doing your assignments with, so that they can then pull your changes and update them. You guys probably will have some merge conflicts. You will be introduced to that. But I'm pretty sure you managed to fix that. So now, if we want to push this.
Excuse me, are you still on master branch? Or?
Yeah, we are still on the master. Let's 1 second. I don't know. Let me check that. Maybe not. No, it's still master. Yeah.
If you want to make a new branch, I mean, you have put some stuff,
Some changes.
you have got some repos to your computer, and then you want to make 2 branches on your own computer because you want to change 2 things to see which one would have better
Sure.
performance. How do you make a new branch?
A new branch. I did it a second ago. Git branch dash b, and you need to add no, sorry, git checkout. My mistake. Git checkout. So what this will do is, normally checkout is the command to go to a new branch or to another branch. Git checkout goes to another branch. What this does, by adding the dash b, it creates the branch basically, if it's an existing branch, which is the case. And then you need to name it.
Yeah, so
Name the new branch.
actually you write the name.
The name. That's how I created a test branch, but we can write another test.
And then if you want to switch between different branches, how do you jump between different branches?
Then you just use the git checkout. And so, for example, yeah, correct. So now we are. So if we see here git branch, we are in the. You can see the existing branches. We have 3, and we are in another test branch. So if you do git checkout, if we want to go to master, then we'll go to master. Right? So now we are in master.
And when you go back to master, whatever change you have made in, for example, another test, it will be reversed when you go back.
Exactly. It's 2 different versions that have no contact with each other. It's like they don't know about each other. 2 separate worlds. The branches are.
So that means if you go to another test and we're creating another branch, it's going under another test, or it's creating separately?
Yeah. It's created separately in the sense that one branch doesn't know of the existence of the other. But whenever you create a branch, so here I created another test based on master. I was on master. That means that, so the branch that you create, all the code that will be inside of it, it's based on the branch that you were when you created.
So that means the new branch coming under the
Under.
test.
It's not under, but
it's based on that.
It's based on that. Yeah, it's based on that.
Maybe like draw it, I don't know, with like a branch and then like
Sure.
some.
Is there there is no. I can just draw on the computer and show.
Yeah, draw on the computer. Open the website for sketch.io.
Okay, let's try that one.
So that it's also recorded.
You can show them from the application that you have already.
Yeah, I have here.
No, let's show it here. I would say actually it's a good idea. Instead of, I mean, for example, this is just yeah. Let's see. It's actually not working.
What about control and then scroll?
Yeah, I think
maybe view.
no. Here. Let's try.
Starting appearance.
Okay, preferences maybe. No, I don't think that will. Yeah, that's a bit annoying actually. It doesn't work. So people, you can't see, right? No. Okay. So let's go to another. Let's try another. Let's maybe try the website that you were mentioning. What's it called? Sketch?
Yeah, sketch.io.
Sketch with K, right? Sketch.io. Okay.
She just needs to sign up for it.
Oh, really? I mean.
Just throw it on the.
Easiest.
It's annoying.
You're also recording on your screen, right? So it should have.
record with the webcam. Then.
No, I don't think that. Okay, but where is the? So basically, we have master. Does anyone? This was the initial, is always the initial branch, because when we do git init, right? Git init creates a master branch. So this is always the initial branch. Of course, then people can change stuff in their branches, but this by default is the initial branch. So if at this point you create a new branch, what will happen is that the new branch that you create, called test, is going to have all the code that is in master. All the code that is in master. Then if you, although they are completely separate, they don't know the existence of each other. For master, test doesn't exist, and for so branches are stupid, they only know about themselves, that's it. But of course, test has the code that is in master.
Same content.
Yeah, exactly. Contains the same code. Then if you do some changes here, and if you decided to create a new branch, right?
Another test.
Test 2, just for the sake of being short. Then it's going to have, test 2 is going to have which code?
Test.
The test, exactly. So it will have all these changes, right? Change 1, change 2. So you did small changes here. They will be, because at the point that we create this branch, these changes exist in this repo, right? So in this repo, no, in this branch, sorry. So then this branch now has all those changes, and it's basically the same. I mean, and that's it. There is not much more to it, and so on. If you create now a branch here, or if you add a few commits to here, a couple of commits with some changes here, then of course, if you create a branch here, what will happen?
Enforce all the changes just in master.
Nothing else.
So if you create a branch when you are in master, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it doesn't know anything about this, right? It will have the same code that is here with these changes.
It's not affecting the tests.
No, it doesn't know about the test. So it will have master plus this, which is master, right? Master. All the stuff that is in master will be in this new branch.
But if you want to merge test 2 into master, should you first merge test 2 into test and then test into master, or can you directly merge test 2 into master?
You can directly merge, but okay, there is something else. Theoretically, if they are, of course you normally create branches again based a bit on features. You can do that, and normally you do it. So if you're doing, for example, like he was explaining, if you have a login functionality that you're creating, right? You can assign that to a branch. Normally that happens. So what the flow, which is known a lot as Git flow, it's a flow that is more and more used nowadays in companies. So you have, of course, always the master branch. You create a new branch based on master, which has all the functionality that you have until that point. So you have master here. You create a new branch that would be, for example, new login. The name of it would be new login. Would be the functionality of the login, right? Of the new login that you want to implement. What you normally do, you then code and put all the logic that you want in that login. Once is on that branch, when this is ready, basically what you normally do is you create a PR, pull request. If you guys know, you probably don't know, but that's also part of. So pull request it's basically, it's better to show it here, I think. It's because you can see something visually. So, I'm actually, can I, no, I cannot, okay. I will just for the sake of simplicity show you guys. This is the company that I work, I mean, it's just easier to, so for example, what I would do, I would have pushed, okay, sorry, I was rushing into, let's go back to your question. But before I need to explain the difference between local and remote, right? In terms of branches, because, so now we have a branch. So for example, all the branches that we created are local branches. So if I do git remote, I think it's like this. So it doesn't give me anything because normally git remote -v allows you to see your remote branches. Remote branches, what I mean is your remote URL that is connected to your branch, your remote branch. So for example, okay, just to, so here in Hack Your Future, oh, actually, you could have so we have all the branches, Class11 and master. So now imagine that I have actually created a new branch. I'm just not sure that I'm allowed to push. But I also don't want to break anything. But basically, a remote branch, a local branch, is all the code. We have done several commits. It contains all our code. For example, in this case, git checkout. Let's try the test one. Okay, so it has one commit, which was the initial commit, which was done in master, but then inherited. So we got it from master because I based the branch. Because once you create a branch, it gets all the code and obviously all the commits of master, right? Yeah. It gets everything. So I've done this commit actually in master, not in this branch. But so now if I probably not allowed to push to, but I can actually later try with my own repo. But so now if I would want to push this to the React, I will try, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. I will. Let's see. I'm not breaking anything. It's a new branch. I just need to get this. And I need to set the origin.
I think GIT add.
Is it that? Yeah, it's probably that.
Git remote add-on.
Yeah, it's probably that one. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Oh.
There is no dash.
No dash. All right. Okay. So now, if we go here, it should show me my remote. You see, here it is. So now it shows the URL, which is the same URL than the repo on GitHub. This is the remote URL. So this is the URL where you can, using this URL, Git will push, whenever you push something, Git will push to in this case, it would be here. I might not have permissions, I will try, and then I can delete it after. It's just a branch, just for testing. Let's test it. Okay, I need to, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this would actually then I will need to put the credentials for, because I don't have SSH configured. But basically, what I'm doing, I can after the break, because we're going to have a break. After the break, I can do with my own repos, and this will go through. I don't have to. So, but he's asking for my GitHub credentials, and if I would have permission, I would add the credentials, and I would push something to that, and then I would push a remote branch. So it would be a branch that would be visible on GitHub, and all the code, all the changes that I've done will be there, and then you could come here, and it will be here a branch called test. I can after the break do it so that you guys see it, just for the sake of it. Yeah, let's maybe leave it at that for now, because there is a break, right?
Yes.
And then we continue after. How much is the break? How much time? Half an hour. Okay. So let's continue after.
After the break, I feel like it would be nice with just like, because they're not gonna be working so much with like branches yet. That's first gonna come when they like get to the final ones.
Okay.
So
more with what actually?
just like add, commit, push. So maybe you can, like, they all have the HYF-homework repo. There's like a folder in there called like week 1. So maybe like an exercise is just like,
Let's go. Where is it? Can you see?
yeah, I'll show
me. So this is going to go.
I'll just go to what is one of the
Oh, that's nice. Did you create this or something? No.
yeah.
Yeah, really.
Mm-hmm.
The rope web. Okay.
.com slash oh, sorry. He hasn't done it.
But isn't that okay? It's not accessible on Slack, no?
No, it is. I just need to find someone who has done it. MIR.
It's really warm here. It's a pity that there's no fan or something.
Yeah. Okay. So Hack Your Future homework. So you see here's like a folder called GIT.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have this repository.
Okay.
And then like week 1, this is where they're supposed to hand in the homework for this week, like working with JIT.
Sure.
But I feel like now if they could just, I don't know, like add a file, say for example, put in like some dishes. So it's literally just a text file, adding that, and then like make a commit, like 3 commits with 3 different, where they add a line every time, and maybe 1 commit where they remove a line.
Sure.
And then that's it, because if they can, you know, so what they need to do is like they need to clone this down on their computer, they need to add the file, git status, see the chain, or the files.
The whole flow, going
exactly.
An exercise to go over the whole flow of basically what I've been talking here all this time.
Exactly, yeah. Because if they know that, if they can clone and they can add and they can commit, like then we're happy.
I mean, basically what I've been following is this. I mean, which is I think a good way of.
Yes, exactly.
I can definitely see what I'm supposed to talk about. And
yes.
At the end, I would probably try with them to go over all these points to see if they actually.
That would be good. Yeah.
That's what I've done the previous time.
Yes.
Yeah,
and don't go so much into branches and like creating branch, because that comes first later on. From now on, they'll just be working in like the master branch. Of course, if they ask questions, that's fine. Sure. But yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but exactly like a practical example
So
with
let's
that.
do that. Let's do that.
And it's nice because then they add it and then they can of course see it online on GitHub. So, oh, there's my commit, and then like I add a line and yeah.
Sure. Let's
Cool.
do that. Perfect.
Yes, you're welcome.
Today's a
Oh, it's a day to be at the beach.
And
Huh?
of course,
Oh, should I stop this?